the meeting to order.
Mr. Viera?
Here.
Dr. Vogt?
Here.
Mrs. Wittes? Here. Dr. Sally?
Here.
Mr. Diner?
Here.
And I hereby certify that this meeting has been published in the newspapers in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and places required by law.
Review of the regular meeting agenda. Anyone have any questions or concerns?
No, I'm good.
Well, I had some.
Go for it.
I just have two questions. One, it was mentioned that, about the roof repair, and which just made me think back to our conversation when we talked about the idea of kind of like a reserve study for, city buildings. We were gonna look into some of that. Is that moving along? Are we doing something with it, or? I just wanted an update.
I don't know that.
No, I haven't undertaken anything additionally, no, not,
Okay.
not at this point.
Wait, is that on anybody's list to do?
Well, if we're gonna look at a large-scale improvement, then I think we need to really get a whole team together
Yeah,
and
I'm,
define the scope, as I said in the previous
Which
discussion.
resolution we're talking about?
We have one, it's
No, it's
actually
on
on
the
our
capital
capital,
budget.
capital
Yeah.
budget for the soft cost
Yeah.
to evaluate the roof, to get the roof redone.
no, and we may choose not to do it. I was just wondering, is it anything that we're gonna continue, or, and if we're not, it's fine. I just.
Oh, I don't think it's a bad idea, I just think it's a huge,
No, it
huge
is.
task.
I know, yeah.
That we have to really have some discussions offline about how far we think we wanna go.
Okay, I'm picking up on some of the comments that we had said before, good money after bad money, that kind of stuff, so I just didn't want it to just slip off
Sure.
the radar. And then, could somebody just give a complete overview of the plans for the Bank of America building?
For the what?
Bank of America
Yeah,
building?
sure.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, we were in there today, and so Nick was in there, Stan, Laura had sent somebody, Rob Ferragina, myself. Is that it? Oh, and a couple of guys from DPW. So I spoke with the guy who was in charge last week. There's a meeting on November 18th with the head people nationwide in terms of they just have to sign off on, they've already signed off on it. And he anticipated that once that's signed, then the legal has to get together with George, with Lou and so forth, and it would probably be, he anticipated about 60 days, assuming it was signed off on the 18th, which is next Monday.
Okay.
In the meantime, we asked him if we could get in, and he said sure. So we all went in there this morning and saw the place in its entirety. And there is I think the consensus was that the place is in beautiful shape, that we could pretty much do all the work in-house with DPW. And there's there's 4 offices, one of which would be a large meeting room, and then the storage space is literally endless. There's an entire basement that seems to be, beautiful with shelving. There's shelvings all over. There's an attic with more shelving. There seems to be there's a vault in the basement which looks like it dates back to, I don't know, late 1800s, if not earlier. And this is in addition to the vault that's there. So we were kicking around a bunch of ideas, but since the meeting, we're gonna take the counters, everybody agreed to take the counters out. There's a handicap thing there, and that we would put a bathroom in the front part, and literally make like 2 separate spaces, because there's an entrance on the side that literally goes into the entire office space. And then there's easily a door by which you literally would have a huge open space with 15-foot ceilings that are just in beautiful condition. So the idea basically is that they would do a paint job, that we'd put either new flooring, or rugs in the back and maybe flooring in the front. And, you know, my personal thing, Nick, since we saw it, is that it just becomes the Long Branch Arts Center. And then the back becomes, you know, community and economic development. There literally is a space that you could keep separate, so that if you had something going on, let's say in the evening or during the day. But I don't know, I mean, clearly we could have a beautiful art space there. I just thought later, Nick, I mean, you could have all kinds of events, like anything from a poetry, you know, pretty much everything that, like they do at New Jersey Rep once a year. I mean, from a small theater space to a dance space. I mean, like, set something up portable, so you could see like an evening of like classical music, or a poetry reading, or a small play situation, or just a million things, literally like a Long Branch Arts Center in the front, because it's just this open, gorgeous space, without, you know, a lot of money. And it's the light in there. Nick, jump in if you want. I mean, it's just like this beautiful light that comes in, and it's just.
Yeah, it's a
this
very,
great space.
very flexible space. Like the mayor said, I think it could be used for a wide array of community events. It's approximately 1,500 square feet of open space, which provides for a lot of opportunities. And, you know, I know I'm pretty excited about it.
And if you think about it, like if you think of the basement of the library and what Stan and Marvin and the crew did there, right, and how beautiful that is. I mean, the only limitation of that, if you think about that, is the fact that it's still in a basement, and the ceilings are relatively low, and so you have to get to it, right? But I mean, think of the space itself. So imagine that same space, you know, in a place, a stone building with 15-foot ceilings and light coming in on the corner of Branchport and Bath. And I think it's not unrealistic, like Nick is talking, I asked him, he said that they're following through with that space at the Pearl Street Gym. I mean, it could easily be like a centerpiece for like just stuff happening, you know, uptown. And then of course, like I said, you'd have the back, which would be, you know, community development literally has their own entrance there. I mean, so there's almost, I don't wanna say nothing, but I'm assuming that Stan was going to do something that he did last year in 2 months downstairs at the library, just do it there and just make it a beautiful, like, new space. Am I right about that, Nick?
Yeah.
So, so will we actually, like, be pursuing, the space like as, let's say, an arts gallery or several, or right now it's.
I don't know,
it's
after the
divided.
conversation, I envision it as literally 2 spaces. One for community development, because that looks more like office space, which is the back of the bank. And then the other, again, this is me, I just envision it as an open event, Long Branch Arts Center space that you could either come in separately through the side, or, I mean, I guess if we put a camera or something in there, we would keep it open where maybe you would, you'd be buzzed in or something.
Yeah,
But I see it almost as two different spaces.
yeah. And art gallery would be spectacular, you know, listed.
Or art center, as we
An
call
art
it,
center,
whatever.
yeah, good, great. It's, like it's become, we really, very quickly have gotten to the point of how did we live without that downstairs space at the library? Because, I mean, we've used it so many times for meeting space, it's just spectacular. So, you know, for the bank to become something similar for
And
community
visible.
access. Yep,
You know,
yep,
like for-
so it's great,
Gonna have parking in the back.
yeah.
Got the municipal parking, the place, the bank itself has, what was it, Nick, 2 handicap spaces
Two,
right
yes.
behind the bank. You know, there's a handicap elevator to just get up the 2. The guy who let us in was the guy who does maintenance for all 30 Bank of America banks, and he says, you know, the place is in great shape. He's
Yeah.
rarely there. The heater and water system was like brand new in the couple of years, so nobody detected any water leakage, anything,
Yeah.
anywhere. So-
Great, good. That's it for me.
close?
So moved. Second?
Opposed? All in favor, rather, I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to adopt a resolution to go into executive session
So
for the fo- thank you.
Second.
Okay, all in
Mr.
favor?
Viera,
Yes.
Dr. Vogt,
Yes.
Mrs. Wittes,
Yes.
Dr. Selly,
Yes.
Mr. Dangler.
Yes. Contract negotiations?
We're
Executive session, yes.
Make a motion to go to executive